This time we're talking with a guy who's been at the forefront of tech and marketing for well over a decade now. He's the man behind many of the most successful software as a service products, including ClickDesigns, which has really taken the industry by storm. Now, don't worry if you've not heard about ClickDesigns yet, because we're going to find out much more about that and the man behind it. Mo Latif, welcome.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you with us, Mo. Now, I've been looking forward to this because ClickDesigns is such an impressive product. So before I ask about you and how it all came about, maybe you could just explain a little about what ClickDesigns is.
So ClickDesigns is basically a design tool that replaces a designer. So for example, let's say you actually building a site or a website or a blog or anything online, and you're looking to have graphics for your website. And before I even actually created the software, we were actually outsourcing our graphics, hiring people in-house, and it's just a nightmare. Communicating back and forth revisions, endless back and forth actually. And I've been doing this for like maybe 15 years until I got to a point thinking, okay, you know what, this is enough. I've got to figure out a way to eliminate the designer instead of, well, not beg him to get stuff done, not miss deadlines. And I think that is what pushed me to actually create ClickDesigns.
So that was the key driver behind it. And ClickDesigns is like an online graphic repository, isn't it, where you can actually edit your own graphics really easily. So it takes away the pain point, as you say, of having to hire a designer. I'll be honest, Mo, I've got the design skills of a 5-year-old at best. So how have you been able to make this so easy to use?
Well, luckily for you, it's perfect for 5 years old as well. So because I've been doing projects for like nearly 2 decades now, the way we did everything, I mean, we start up with a logo. From a logo, we'll go to a book cover. From a book cover, we'll go to a box shot. We'll go to different illustrations. And it's actually a process that we just repetitively do every other month for our projects. And it just came to a point thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to start with the logo, then I'm going to need this, then I'm going to need this, then I'm going to need this. I know what I need. So if I'm doing this and there's millions of other people doing the exact same thing, so I started designing and creating a software that actually allows me, myself, to go in, create my logo, create my box covers, create my book covers, create my designs for my my web pages, my sales pages, my offers, without literally wasting time chasing, communicating. I mean, we had designers like across in different countries. Sometimes it's the communication issues, sometimes it's the internet issues, sometimes there's always an excuse, to be honest with you. And we were like, what actually gave real birth to it is, I would say, ClickFunnels, I think. And we actually had programmers at the time as well. So from programmers, we were like, you know, we need to eliminate the programmers. And obviously an old friend, Russell Brunson, he had a ClickFunnels. I started using it, and then I realized, you know what, this does absolutely, well, kind of everything that I need except for the designs.
Right, yeah.
So it fixed the programming and the website problem, but the biggest problem was the actual graphics for my own sites. They do provide, I mean, every single site builder, they provide templates, so you can literally come in and start editing. However, you're stuck at the design process. And that's when people kind of either cancel their subscription to the site builders because they're like, we can't change or edit. So what we do instead is we work seamlessly with the site builders. So what happens is once you create a graphic, you can just literally stick it into the site builder and it's done. You don't need slicing, you don't need editing, you don't need absolutely nothing, because every site builder is built on elements and frames. And when you create something, it basically says when you go to a site builder, it says image, insert your image here. You can just literally insert your image and it just fits in. So all you have to do is select a template inside ClickDesigns, customize it to your brand, and just stick it straight to the site builder without any help. Because if you can use the site builder, you can use ClickDesigns.
Yeah, and it is seriously impressive and very simple to use. For anybody who's not discovered ClickDesigns before, first of all, where can you find ClickDesigns?
ClickDesigns.com.
Simple as that. Nice and simple. Now, I'm sure I'm going to have many more questions to ask about ClickDesigns, but first, let's find out a little bit more about you, Mo. What's your background?
My background, I mean, I started working as an accountant stroke investment banking background, then got literally bored of the city life in London, Liverpool Street, Bank Station.
Yeah.
And from there, I think it was 2000 and, no, 1998, I think it was. Then obviously Google gave birth, and I was like thinking, this is a new thing. And I hate actually going to work. I hate the commute. So I actually kind of believed in the fact that the internet was going to stay. So what I basically did is sort of planning on how I can actually move away from a corporate job onto working from home or just working for myself. So I think it was in 2002 when I registered my first domain name. I was like, okay, this is expensive, but is this thing for real? Is it going to actually follow through? Fast forward 20 years later, and look where we are. We're still here, and the internet's still booming. Obviously, there's technology advances, but I'll say from 2000 so when I started 2002, it took me 3 years to say, you know what, let's do something. So I was procrastinating, thinking, okay, it's not going to stay, it's going to stay. I've got to learn this, I've got to learn that. 2005, I watched a couple of video series online by a whole bunch of gurus. They don't like to be called gurus, which is a good thing. So one of them was Frank Kern, Jeff Alderson, John Reese, Jeff Walker. So all the old school internet marketers that actually gave birth to the word, I would say, internet marketing. And after watching these guys, I was like, you know what? If they can do it, why can't I do it? So 2005 took me another 2 years to actually get them. But I started making money online, but it wasn't as significant until 2007. I actually went to my first event in the state, which cost me an arm and a leg. And what happened after that is I came back 6 months later, did my first product launch. It was super successful. Carried on creating different products, info products mostly, until about 2012. And then 2017, I started working with partners in regards to creating software. I wasn't good at creating software at the time. I mean, I had understood nothing. But my main expertise, or what actually got me started, was copywriting. I mean, that's the number one skill. I think all these gurus literally tell you is learn copywriting, and that's the first thing I ever learned before anything else. So yeah, I mean, I learned copywriting. I became really good at copywriting, email marketing, VSLs, webinar scripts. So anything content written became really good at. But so once so then we were working on ClickBank for like several years. Then we went on to JVZoo, and I think the goal was with JVZoo was, even though I was doing product launches with a partner, the idea basically was I'm actually going to get in the top 3 of the entire of JVZoo. And 2 years later, or was it 3 years later? I can't remember, but we actually became top 1% vendors on JVZoo. And that was with my partner, sorry. Then thereafter, then became the real struggle, which was, even though I've been doing the same thing over and over again for the last 20 years, like when I start a project, get the idea, start copywriting, get a website, design the site, it's the same process, it's the same protocol. So the biggest headache at that time was originally programming, like getting the website up. So obviously ClickFunnels at that time sorted that problem out. But the real biggest pain thereafter was the designing part of it. And I think that's where after, I don't know, 18, maybe, I don't know, 15 years, I was like, you know what, this needs to stop. I can't keep doing this. And you do get that occasion where people actually say, yeah, I'm going to fix this problem. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. But they don't do it until like many, many years later. So that's when I thought, you know what, this is enough. I'm actually going to do this. I started creating the software. I started using the software for my own product launches for like 3 years. Nobody knew I had a software. Obviously, we kept it internal. So every single time we had a launch, we'll actually do our own graphics, put it on the website, and everyone's like, dude, who's doing your graphics? I'm like, me. But their response was always, but you're a copywriter. You're the guy that does the content. And I was like, yeah, but I actually did this. Nobody believed it. Literally nobody believed it until I think 2 years. So this was going on for like 18 months. Every 3 months, I'd get a bombardment of people saying, look, who's your designer? Who's your designer? And I'm thinking, guys, why can't you just believe that it's me? Because, but we know you can't do it. So So whilst I was going for like 18 months, one day, one guy just literally said, look, you need to stop lying. You need to stop bullshitting. And I'm like thinking, dude, I'm telling you, you know what? Let me show you. Okay. So we had a call, I did a live screen share, and they're like, within, I would say, couple of minutes, they just stopped the conversation saying, right, okay, we've seen enough. I was like, what do you mean? I'm not even showing you the rest of it. He goes, no, I get what this is. Okay. And then what he just basically did is he stopped the conversation and he said, just give me access. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I was like, okay, but don't you want to see the rest of the demo? Because you don't need to do a demo because I've seen your work. I've seen your websites and they look brilliant. Nobody's done the same thing ever on JVZoo until I think once I've started, I think, structuring not only the sales pages, but the content by also specifically dialed in the graphics. So it wasn't just random graphics put on the page. It's literally, so if I had a paragraph on the web page, I'll have a graphic that represents the content. So when you scan down a sales page, you'll see the graphic, and that graphic will tell you a story as you go down, down, down. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you've got the headlines, then you've got the subheadlines. You can read the subheadlines, but when there's too much content, as you're scrolling down, you're like, this is too much to read. You'll start scanning. But then the idea is for the graphics to represent that story or represent the message as they scroll down to hit the buy button. And I think people started actually understanding more and more as I was doing it. And they were like, you know what, we need access to this. So what's funny is, so everybody didn't believe me until I actually showed it to them. And everybody that I showed it to within minutes, like, dude, stop, just give us access. And I was doing this for 3 years with a partner, right? And obviously my partner was doing the software development of another product. I was doing the copywriting as well as designing and technical pages. I think it was 3 years or 4 years that we were doing product launches together. I think, so in total, we did over like 4 million in revenue, right? And again, the graphics were done with the software. There was no graphic designer. Right. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. Even though it was done, it was created, I could have started selling it, but I didn't. I carried on tweaking it, improving it for like, in a total of like 3 years before I think I had a lot of people just turn around and say, look, dude, you need to sell this. I mean, everybody needs this, especially in our industry. And that got me thinking, okay, you know what? Let me give it to more people. Let me see what their feedback is. So I sent it out to a bunch of like high profile marketers, and the responses start pouring in. They're like, this is amazing. This is the best thing. Dude, I'm going to fire my. I had one guy literally turn around and say, within 3 weeks, we fired our, I think 3 years or 5 years designer on their payroll.
Wow.
And fair enough. I mean, my agenda wasn't to like get people fired, but the simplicity of being able to think of a project, start your project, and execute and start selling your product or your service online, we've just simplified the process.
Yeah.
Because in general, it takes around, I don't know, a month for us to do our graphics for when we didn't have the software. Now we're like, you know, as the content's done, we'll go into the software, grab the graphics, put them on the site, and we're good to go. So that will take a couple of days compared to what it used to take a month, especially when you include the stress, the headache, the back and forth, the revisions, just countless communication just to get something done. So let's say, for example, there's a little dot on an image that you want changing. You give it to the designer, and he'll say, yeah, I'll be back in 3 days. I'm thinking, dude, it's a dot. It does not take 3 days to remove the dot. But fair play to him. He might have like other clients and stuff, but seriously, don't give me 3 days and charge me $100 just to take that dot out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's about convenience as well, as you say, isn't it? I think
completely.
That's the key to this. So many questions about this, Mo. I mean, first of all, so in 2002, that's when you decided to go all in terms of the internet. Of course, around that time, we were still coming out of the dot-com boom and bust. Did that give you any reason to worry, or was that more of did that encourage you more?
To be honest, I mean, I think it actually encouraged me more because even though it's a bust or a boom at the time, it's the same thing that's happening right now when it's coming to the AI stuff right now. Mm-hmm. And when the crypto came out, there's everybody raving about it, investing into it, investment bankers and all the investment firms actually jumping straight into it, throwing money at it, and then they realize, well, you know what? This doesn't do anything. For example, like pet.com, people poured money into it and it did nothing, and it went bust. Amazon had money into it, but they carried on. So the strong players, they carried on, and as you can see today, like people like Amazon especially, they survived it, even though I don't think they were making money for like maybe 10 years or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it was like, I didn't want to do a 9 to 5. I didn't want to work for anybody else. I mean, I think the maximum, actually, no, that's not true. I think I worked for like maybe 18 months tops for somebody. But as I'm working, I'm like, guys, you can actually I'm a systems guy. Okay, so I'll look for things that can make my life easier. So when you provide that information to your higher level management, they're like, no, we have a system that works, carry on using it. And because I became good at computers, I think that actually got me more convinced thinking, you know what, let's go the internet route. Because I created a system whilst I was working in one of the investment banking and it was just literally a macro HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP Excel sheet, which integrated with their management system. And all I had to do at the end of the month was press F9. And obviously I kept it quiet, which I shouldn't be actually saying here right now. But for 18 months, they were just paying me to press F9. I was like, that's cool. I can keep doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually got bored. I literally got bored. I mean, even though you're getting paid a good amount, you're like, I don't want to do this. I literally don't want to do. There's more to this. So I think I started playing my internet marketing journey, I guess, whilst working there. And to be honest with you, I think that's probably the best decision I've made in my entire life.
And did you move out of London at that point, Mo?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The reason why I moved out of London was the fact that I was told before I went to London that you'll end up being a headless chicken. And I'm like thinking, what is that thing? So I figured out so what it basically means is you will automatically, robotically continue to do something every single day. You won't even notice like you're doing it. You're programmed to just do it. Until one day, I think what made my decision concrete was I promised myself, obviously, I'm never going to be a headless chicken. So I went to a tube station, went to the train underground tube, and I was going home. I met a friend, bumped into him, and he goes, come and see me at this place. I was like, okay, cool. I still went to the machine, paid the amount to go home because I'm programmed, right? Mm-hmm. That was my wake-up call. I was like, okay, you've just done it. It's time to leave. Yeah. And I think I went home, and I think I left the same night, to be honest with you.
Where were you living at that point?
I think it was Houston I was living at.
Okay. So quite central.
Houston or Marylebone. Yeah, quite central, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And where are you based now?
Up in Scotland.
Okay. So you've stayed living in the UK. You've not been tempted to go to maybe the US where tech companies are perhaps embraced a little bit more. Everyone, of course, looks at Silicon Valley. And you've not done this through investment in your own company. You've basically bankrolled ClickDesigns yourself, have you?
That is correct. So, I mean, the reason why I've got hundreds, I would even say thousands of friends who are like colleagues and associates in the US. And we speak like more or less every single day. I work on multiple different time zones. I lived in different countries, in the east side, in the southeast, in the Middle East. I've stayed in Europe, I've stayed in the States. So, but then you know what they say, don't they? There's no place like home, right?
Yeah.
So, I think the important thing is your own time management, because when you're dealing with the state people, as you already know, that they come in at a certain time, but the people from the east, they come in at a certain time. You think, okay, you know what, now you've got to manage your time. So I think I've got to a point or a position where it's like, okay, so I have a schedule. I'm going to stick to my schedule. And if I need to speak to somebody on the East Coast, I will arrange a time that is convenient for me, but mutually effective for them as well. I mean, I don't want to be selfish.
Yeah.
And same with on the East side, same thing. So, I mean, I try to accommodate as much as I can, but because the internet just basically opened from a local and national market to an international market. And I think that was my driving force, which was, why would I want to sell just to the local people or the national people? I could go worldwide. And I think that was my key driving factor back in 2002, 2005 was like, I'm going to go global. I can make more money going global than if I just focus on the local or the national market.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned earlier was the fact that you had almost this first mover advantage through your own launches by using your ClickDesigns software. You were able to launch perhaps way quicker than anybody else who were still outsourcing their designs to third parties. Did you ever think to yourself, I don't want to let other people have this system because it takes away that first mover advantage from myself?
The answer is yes and no. The reason why my original intention wasn't to sell it. So because I wouldn't say pestered, I would say, I don't know, cornered into like people saying, look, God, do you actually need to sell this now? Because it's good, it works, and it's a real product, right? And it's solving a real pain that a huge majority of the industry is actually having right now because they've got the ideas, but they need people to execute, especially when it comes to graphics. They've got to go on to Fiverr, to Upwork, they've got to vet, review, I don't know, interview until they finally find people. But then again, they're not even guaranteed that person they interviewed or they actually hired is going to stay for like as long as you want them to stay. Yeah. So I guess my answer to that question basically is originally it was for myself. And when I did have the advantage of actually launching faster, it just came to a point thinking, you know what, this is like really, really good. I didn't expect it to be this good. Now, because it's this good, we don't do any more product launches. So we just stick with one core business now. So it's the one thing, and we're just scaling the one thing.
Got you. And you said earlier that copy is king, that you mastered the skill of copywriting. Words do make a huge difference, but also, I guess, first impressions count. So why are graphics so important in achieving that?
So, I mean, if you have, this could be a bad explanation, but you could have, I don't know, a really ugly looking car. So let's say a Datsun Sunny back in, I don't know what, 1970s, I think.
Yeah.
And then you put a today's Lamborghini next to it. What would catch your attention? What would you go for?
Yeah. No matter how good the sales copy is at that point for the Nissan Sunny or the Datsun Sunny, yeah, it's not going to match up, is it? So I guess it's a combination of those things, isn't it? Copy is so important, but also these days, especially I think nowadays because of Instagram, everyone's used to seeing really good looking pictures and imagery around everything. So to have that now associated with your own products is super important. That's where I guess ClickDesigns really comes into its own.
But here's the biggest factor as well. If you literally think about it, it's there's so much information now. There's so much content. And our consumption rate, even probably your own, has increased significantly. What we used to learn and understand 10 years ago has tripled, quadrupled right now. Because I consume so much information, and I do even ask myself, why are you consuming this so much information, right? So when you're reading blog posts, I mean, if you go back 10 years, blog posts were just content, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to a blog post now, it's content broken up by images, photos, like that's how they're breaking up. Okay, so the visual aspect is what retains people to stay on the page, to read further and take action. Because if it's just content, I mean, yeah, 100%, the copy is king, but it's the images that, without the images, you're visualizing the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the images, we give you the story.
Well, also, I guess that there are more digital products now, as you say, than ever before. But to have a graphical representation of a digital product can really help with conversions. Is that what you find?
Definitely, because it's what they say. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And the brain processes images more than 60,000 times faster. Because we're visual creatures, because we see with the eyes first. So if it doesn't attract our attention, so when you go to a web page and it looks ugly, you think, right, move on. But if you go to a web page and it looks nice, and you think, okay, let me have a look at this.
Yeah.
So we look with our eyes first before the mind actually goes and thinks, you know what, yeah, I need to read this now.
Absolutely. And they say don't judge a book by its cover, but you can't help but do that, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
just to explore that a little bit further, Mo, what kind of graphic design elements are the most important in your opinion?
For a web page or for a blog or for what kind of page?
I guess for an online business. So I guess, website, landing page would possibly be that we should explore.
So with a landing page, it depends on what the end user is actually selling as a product or a service. So if they're selling a digital product, then you've got book covers, you've got digital device markups, you've got product bundles, you also have magazine covers. It's a whole range of stuff, and you can have digital devices where you can actually put your content in the device. So let's say if it's a markup and your content is actually in the device, and there's a person actually sitting there in an image that shows the device of your company, it gives the user experience. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So, and then you've got the service side of it. So with the service side, because you're selling, it's not a tangible product. So the only way around that is we create images that represents the service that they're going to offer. So you can do this with illustrations. You could do this with annotations. So every kind of different, the visual aspect comes in different forms and different shapes. Okay. The idea is to represent the content should, sorry, no, the graphic should represent the content. Okay. So if you can present your visuals in a way that represents the content, it just makes it so much easier for your conversions.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of ClickDesigns itself, can you just run us through the types of designs that you can actually make using the ClickDesign system?
Well, to be honest with you, every single design that we use for our own businesses is the exact same design you find available inside ClickDesigns.
So this is things like ebook covers, podcast covers, landing page graphics, icons.
That's correct.
Security seals for payment links and so on. And all of that. And how does that work, Mo? Is it a subscription-based service?
Yeah, it's a subscription-based service, but we do allow users to actually have a 14-day free trial. So the whole idea behind it is for you to actually go inside the editor, use it, and see and even compare to like any other tools that people actually use. And the interesting thing is, even though I shouldn't be saying this, but we got compared to Canva before we launched. There's one guy who's used it, sent a testimonial saying this is like Canva, but for direct response marketers. I'm thinking, oh, that's cute. Until like 6 months later, once we started selling it, we had a bombardment of people saying, you guys are like Canva, but better. I'm thinking, what are they telling me? What's the message? And they said, as marketers, you cater for that market. Canva caters towards social media people, right? Small businesses. And I think that was the point where we actually started significantly differentiating. Yeah. So we work with like site builders, for example, Groove Pages, Convertry.com. We also work with Go High Level. We've got people who use ClickFunnels, Kajabi, Kartra, people who are actually on Amazon, ClickBank, JVZoo. They're on Digistore. They're even Etsy. So all these people are actually using our graphics for their business.
Yeah, and it's a seriously impressive piece of software. You mentioned the 14-day free trial, Mo. Yeah. Anybody listening or reading this, how can they sign up for that?
Honestly, you can just go to clickdesigns.com, and at the top it just says try it free. Click on the try it free, create an account, and you should be good to go. And again, like I said, once you're inside, play about with it, break it, do what you need to get done. Does it solve your problem? And if it does, perfect. If it doesn't, tell us why, we'll improve it.
Sounds good. Sounds really good. Mo, listen, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and find out more about you and also about ClickDesigns. We wish you all the best with ClickDesigns, and I'm sure it's going to be one of those systems that continues to evolve and grow over time.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks again for your time today. Great speaking with you.
Right, thanks a lot.